in Lamairena, overlooking the coast of Marbella. 40 years ago, none of this was here. One man had a dream, he made it happen. We're going to meet that man. He lives in that house over there. Gabriel Massoud, it's a wonderful experience to be sitting here on the top of Lamairena in your home. I always refer to you as the king of the castle because you literally have got the most incredible house on the most beautiful mountain, which I'm very lucky to be able to call home. I live on this mountain and it's very much in my heart. So thank you so much for joining us today to tell us about the history of it. And I'd like to start by asking you how you came to be in Spain.
So the first time I came to Spain, it was from Beirut to Sevilla. I came with my son Nadim, he was 6 years old at that time. And we went to Sevilla to see the procession and all the festive atmosphere there. And from Sevilla, we came to visit Marbella at that time.
What year are we talking about, Gabriel?
It was about 72, 73, something like that.
Then tell me how had Marbella come into your consciousness? Because back in 1972...
Marbella was still at the very beginning. So we came here and we visited Marbella, and the Don Carlos at that time was the Hilton Hotel. And I was impressed because it was very similar to Beirut, Marbella. And we came back to Lebanon, and then after a few years we got the civil war in Lebanon, unfortunately. And I moved to France, and in Beirut we had one of the most famous hotels on the seashore. It was called Coral Beach. Everybody was coming to Coral Beach.
A social hub.
Yes, it was a real social hub. And the war started, and Coral Beach kept working during the whole war. So in the meantime, when the war started, we developed a swimming club in Coral Beach, and we created 400 cabins, to each cabin with a bathroom and a shower, and we sold them in Beirut at more or less $10,000 each cabin. So with the 400 cabins, we collected $4 million. And we decided with my brothers, George and Edward, to invest this money in Spain because Marbella was very similar to Beirut. So we came here and we bought the plot of Coral Beach, 40,000 square meters.
Describe what you found when you came in that year, what the coast was like there.
You see the road of the national road here, the 340 was only 2 lanes.
Yes.
There were no highways.
Yeah.
It was very difficult to move. Always traffic jams and dead people on the street. And it was
in the 80s.
Yes. In fact, before coming here, there was a delegation of Spanish from the Spanish government, which came to Beirut to attract Lebanese to invest in Spain. And my brother Edward, who was married to a Spanish wife, met them. So we came here and we bought the land of Coral Beach and we applied for a license. It took us 5 years to get the license.
Nothing's changed
to build a hotel and apartments. And my brother called the minister who came to Beirut at that time. He told him, "You came to bring us to Spain. We came, we invested, and here we are sitting waiting for the license since 5 years. Can you please help us?" And he called the mayor of Marbella, and we got it. And we got Juan Mora at that time, who was the architect dealing with the Marbella town hall. And we built the Coral Beach, and it was a very successful operation.
And you were living at that point in the Golden Mile?
Yes, then I lived in the Coral Beach. I had a penthouse.
Was it called the Golden Mile at that point? Or was that a name that came later?
Well, it came later. In fact, we were the first operators to start building
the first
on the
developers
coast.
there.
You see, after the Puente Romano, we had Coral Beach, and then the area exploded, and
So at that point you had Marbella Club, Puente Romano, the port of Banús, which
Yes.
Marcos Sainz and
Porto
your
Banús,
had designed.
the casino at Porto Banús.
The casino.
Yes.
The Las Brisas golf course, that existed.
Well, the golf courses were there,
Yeah.
all of them.
And very little else. So you really were the first developer to actually build a beachside development of specifically for
Well,
that.
the Coral Beach was the first operation, big operation on the beach.
How did you come to find this area on the east side of Marbella? Because back
So,
then,
the 87, I sold the insurance company I had in France. We bought it, and I managed it from 79 till 87. So we bought it at that time for 45 million French francs, and we sold it in 87 for 214 million. So it was a fantastic operation.
a tidy profit.
So I had a big share in this company. So I took the profit and moved straight forward to Marbella, because we had already the Coral Beach and the experience.
But you hadn't committed at that point to living here full time.
Yes, and then I met Juan Moro, the architect, and I told him I want to invest all the money I made in France here in Spain. What you advised me to buy. So I was visiting plenty of properties in Istan, and one day he brought me to La Mairena. At that time it was Elviria. He brought me to the top of the hill here, which is next door.
So the road coming up La Mairena was a
Yes,
small...
next to the German college.
Yes.
The hill above the German college. And we went together, and I saw this huge area, completely green and virgin. It's like it was like a jungle, completely green and nobody in it. There were only owls during the night, and
The wild boar.
foxes.
Yeah.
It was very wild.
Yeah.
So we saw the hill, and then we went to the river,
The river at the back.
the river of Ochen down the road.
Yes.
And I was in a state of shock. It was so nice that I told him, I'll buy it. How much do they want? He introduced me to Salvador Guerrero.
And Salvador Guerrero was owned virtually this whole area at that point, including
Salvador
Marbella.
owned from the beach
Yeah.
to the river of Ochen.
Yeah.
16 million square meters.
He and his family.
Yes.
Yeah.
He wasn't developing himself. He was selling big chunks of land
Yes,
to several promoters.
Yes.
So I met Salvador, and I told him, I'll buy you 2 million square meter here, because it was the budget I had in mind. And I showed him from the hill what I wanted, and we agreed on a price, and I bought it. It was very quick. In 1 week we made the deal.
But surely back then you must have been thinking, how am I going to logistically make this happen because of the planning? Were you at that point speaking Spanish? Were you able to actually...
Well, I was
You were learning?
speaking Spanish. I learned it through the bills I was paying.
You will learn the financial language of Spain very quickly.
So I bought this hill, but I never realized that it was so difficult and complicated.
People must have thought you were
develop it.
crazy,
Yes.
didn't they?
Everybody told me, you are crazy, nobody's going to buy in the mountains. Everybody's buying on the beach. So, and when I bought it from Salvador Guerrero, we made a deal to widen the road that comes to La Mairena. It was 6 meters, we made it 9 meters. So we shared the cost together, and we did it.
But then nevertheless, he must have been thinking, who's this crazy Lebanese man? What does he think he's going to do up here? He must have also found you very courageous to have made that move.
You see, it was a risk, but at that time I was loaded with money. I said, it's not a big deal. It will always be worth something. I believe in real estate, you know.
Yeah.
So I wasn't scared to buy real estate, finally, because it's the only safe investment you have in the world.
Still
And
to
2
this
million
day.
square meter, whatever happens, it's
Yeah.
especially with the location.
Yeah.
It's the nicest view in Europe. The clouds in front of us are above the mountains of the Reef Mountains in Morocco. And if we move to the right, we have Gibraltar. And just behind Gibraltar, it's the beginning of the Atlantic.
That's the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes.
Then-
And the wind we're getting now is coming from the Atlantic. It's not from the Mediterranean. That's why it's a dry wind. The wind of the Mediterranean is more humid than the wind of the Atlantic. And in La Mairena, we are lucky. We have 55% humidity all year long, while on the coast it's 85% humidity.
So we go from Gibraltar, we come along the coast, we hit Sierra Bermeja, we
Yes.
come to La Concha, we're then coming along Ojen to La Mairena, where we
Yes.
stand here, and then we go over to this side, and behind the house we
so this
see
you have the village of Mijas.
the house,
You see this white spot.
yeah, the pueblo,
And then Malaga,
yeah,
and on top of Malaga, the Sierra Nevada.
Sierra Nevada.
So from this point, we see Sierra Nevada and Gibraltar, which is a span of 250 kilometers.
Amazing.
There are very few places in the world when you can see 200 kilometers on one side.
Beautiful.
It's a unique spot here.
Yeah. This location could challenge La Zagaleta in terms of views and proximity. It's so much closer to everything,
It's
and yet the
different. You
views
see,
are so much better.
Zagaleta is like a closed,
Horseshoe almost, yeah.
you see the wind and the humidity are stuck in La Zagaleta. Here you have a flowing wind
Yes.
from the Atlantic to the other part. So the weather here is unique.
Yeah.
Here we have 55% humidity in La Mairena. It's like a sanatorium. The best weather worldwide. I have never seen a place. When you come here, you breathe. You see, you have the feeling. All the people who bought from La Mairena, when they come here, they tell me, thanks God we are breathing now.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So tell me, how did you go about your master plan for La Mairena? What were the first steps that you did to start to structure the idea
you
that
see,
you had?
when I bought the 2 million square meter, 500,000 were dedicated to be urbanized. They were, we could urbanize them. So we had to make a master plan.
So it's a 1 to 25 buildability, at 25%.
35%.
Yeah.
So we did the master plan with Juan Mora, and we submitted it to the local authorities here. It took us 5-6 years to
Can I
to
ask
get
you at that point then, because what's interesting about where we are now is that we have three localidades. We have Marbella, Ojen and Mijas all
Yes.
converging into one. So you had to submit
So,
to...
yes, we were on 3 municipalities. Ojen ends like a triangle here in La Mairena. And on one side you have Marbella, and on the other side Mijas. But Ojen is very narrow here. So that's why we had to deal with Marbella, Ojen, and Mijas. And it was the only part buildable, the part of Ojen, because in Marbella it's forestal, we cannot touch it, and in Mijas more or less the same. So we had to concentrate on Ojen land. And this is what we did. So we started developing the 500,000 square meter, and we're still in it since 35 years. We didn't finish yet. With all the problems you can face with the municipalities,
Yeah, you have to have very thick skin to be able to be in this business for as long as you have.
It's a permanent battle, you know.
Yeah.
You have to fight all the time
Yeah.
and not get depressed. The mayor of Ojen stopped it because he thinks that we're going to sell the apartments and it's against...
But one day
Well-
it'll get its license, will it?
We have the license. He stopped it, and now we sued him. We're waiting for the outcome of the procedure. But unfortunately, it takes years in Spain.
You do love a court case, don't you?
Another one.
Nothing puts Gabriel off. Oh no.
We have several cases with him. He ruined most of our projects.
Yeah,
Otherwise, this would be now operational with
yeah.
120 rooms and 36 small townhouses. It was an important project. We
Gosh.
stopped it.
So your first, or the first development that started to come to fruition was the villa and the apartments
Yes.
right on the top of the hill there. And you used the local architect Melvin Villarroel for
Yes.
those.
At that time, we changed from Juan Mora to Melvin Villarroel because he was more fashionable at that time.
Well, he'd done the Puente Romano
He'd
amongst
done
many other
Puente
things.
Romano, and
Yeah.
he brought a new architecture
Yes.
to Spain. So we did the first phase of La Mairena with Melvin Villarroel, who was very concentrated on gardening and
Landscaping.
volumes, landscaping. He has a different vision to architecture. He called it Del Vacío because for the volume.
Yeah.
You see, I had the same idea like him. I'm claustrophobic myself, so in all the apartments and houses I built in La Mairena, there's a double height of ceiling. You see, when you look here, you never see the ceiling when you are inside.
Yes.
So that's why you feel much more relaxed. Arquitecto del Vacío, I called it for the volume, not the vacío, it's more volume. So we had a nice experience with Melvin. I'm very friendly with his sons that are also, both of them, very good architects.
And very active here.
Yes.
It is important.
Yes, they are maintaining the fame of their father.
Yeah, exactly. So we have here on the top of the mountain the development of apartments, the original villa that you built,
Yes.
which became your home.
Yes.
What happened after that?
Well, after this house, I started developing the phase of La Mairena looking at Fuengirola. We gave a name to each one of them, 3 pueblos, and then Bougainvillas. And then we started selling the plots to other developers. And we started building houses. So we stopped building apartments, and we built around 25 villas. We still have another 16 to build, and then the whole program will be over.
The whole problem. The whole problem.
Now with the new law, we still have 2 million square meters of land here, because after the purchase of the land of Salvador Guerrero, I bought another 1 million meters in Mijas. I spent 3 years buying everything around La Mairena. And then we had this awful law that was issued in Andalusia. They called it the POT, Plan de Ordenación Territorial de Andalucía. All the land that I had in La Mairena, 2.5 million square meters, converted to green zone. And since then we are struggling to
overturn that. It's not
But
possible.
now with the new law that has been issued recently, La Lista,
La Lista, yeah.
we can build in forestal land 1 house every 50,000 square meters,
Yes,
and in rustic land 1 house every 25,000 square meters.
yeah,
So we had a way out
yeah,
to recover the investment that we did.
yeah. But still making it very much more long term.
It's a long term.
Yeah, which is where we have to mention Nadim at this point, your son Nadim, who is super active
Yes.
in real
It's,
estate and development.
a
And
good inheritance for Nadim and for his kids. At the pace which the development is happening in forestal and rustic land,
yeah,
you have to consider few generations.
yeah,
So I told Nadim, you have to deal with the land another 20 years and then your children will take over.
yeah. Well, he is one of the most hardworking people I know on this coast,
Yes,
I
he's
have to say.
working a lot.
He's working a lot, yeah.
Let me explain to you where we are exactly. We're 7 minutes from the closest beach of Marbella and half an hour from Malaga airport.
When we had the pandemic 2 years ago,
Yes.
Mairena was given, if it needed it, it was given a real boost. It was given a huge new energy from people looking for space and for an environment within which they could
people
live.
discovered La Mairena. People wanted to be in the open air, away from the crowd, and in a safe area where they will not catch any disease. The whole marketing changed. The change was incredible.
And what of the road that leads from the top of the hill on Mairena through to Ochen, along which there are some very, very large houses, those big villas, including the villa?
Yes, these houses were built on Salvador Guerrero's land. Salvador was selling plots of 50,000 square meter and getting the license from Ochen. And later on, there were complaints that this land is in Marbella, not in Ochen. And finally, the two municipalities agreed to clarify the boundaries. And it was done properly. And
do you ever foresee that in that direction there will be more development?
for the time being, everything is forestal, you know. In the meantime, we take advantage of the views and the beauty of nature. And finally, you enjoy living. I accepted this kind of peaceful area and the beauty of the nature. I'm enjoying it. It doesn't change anything to make millions more. What for?
Yeah. You were a pioneer back then for somebody who came and saw and took that risk and conquered. I mean, what a success story.
Well,
and to know that you live in the place that you fell in love with all those years ago.
When I bought the insurance company in France, everybody told me, after a few years you'll be in jail with a bankrupt company. And we were successful. When I bought the land, it was for 200% of the square meter. And now it's selling in Marbella at 1,500 the square meter.
Your love, your sort of passion for continuing to look for those special locations which become somewhere that you can create your dream, your energy for that continues. We know that you have the olive farm down in Gauthín. You, even more interestingly, have recently, within the last few years, been putting a lot of work and investigations into a project in Huelva on the coast near to Portugal.
Well, here, since we had plenty of land, 2 million square meters, I planted part of them with mangoes and avocados. And we dug over 12 wells and we made 2 small lakes to irrigate them.
Yeah.
So it wasn't easy. We had to fight with Medio Ambiente, get licenses. They were reluctant to let us plant it, but finally we did it. And now I bought a land in Huelva, an old copper mine with 5 million square meters, with a lake in the middle. This copper mine belonged to English in the 1890, you know. And at that time, they built a wall of 27 meter height on the river and created this lake. And the previous owner used it for irrigation, but agriculture is not evident. It's a very difficult profession. You see, when I was in Lebanon, the lawyer with whom I was practicing told me there are 3 ways to lose your fortune: the casino, the woman, and agriculture. So I bought it, and just for the lake, because today the whole world is looking for water, and this lake would...
How long ago did you buy that?
1 year now.
1 year ago?
Yeah.
I mean, you really don't give up, do you? You bought
because
5 million square meters.
Now I was having in mind to develop something around the lake.
Yeah.
And it happened that I met the same project on the border of France and Belgium. Belgian developer developed something similar. He had a piece of land of 3 million square meters with lakes in the middle and forest. And he developed wooden houses around the lakes, and he created a center where reception, spa, restaurants, and selling small houses of 60 to 200 square meter, going back to nature. And as soon as he opened the new project, he sold 90 houses in 3 months. It was incredible. The success was tremendous. So my idea is to do the same here, create a hub kind of.
It's an interesting connection there, though. When we know how Andalusia, how popular that has been, we also know what's happened with Portugal over the last 5-10 years, and so in between you've got the area of Huelva. It's a I would say quite an intelligent move to be making into that region.
Portugal started to develop later than Spain.
Yeah.
Here we are much advanced than Portugal. That's why in Portugal you have plenty of land on the seashore, still virgin. Here everything is developed already.
I think defence of the Algarve, I think the authorities were much less willing to give out permits for development close to the beach, whereas here it seemed that there was very little restriction.
Well, now the restrictions are the same, 200 meters away from the shore. I prefer Spain, to tell you frankly. Portugal is a small country. Spain, you have 360 million people speaking Spanish in the world.
Yes.
So Spain has more future than Portugal.
Yeah.
And the example of Brazil is not fantastic.
On that note, Gabriel Massoud, it's been wonderful speaking with you. Thank you so much for allowing us this time today in your home up here on Mairena.
So it's my pleasure.
Thank you. Gabriel, thank you for such a wonderful day today and for making us so very welcome and for feeding us such beautiful food.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Do it again.
See you soon. Bye-bye.